Okay, it's all good. Just some kids broke down. They had it figured out. So anyway, this being part 2, I got every piece of orange on I got. Now I'm talking about everything. So I imagine you can imagine what this tactic is. And what he talks about is that 2 weeks prior to the rut, you know, it's them days that their bucks are roaming, them young bucks are crazy, and they're driving all the does crazy. And why I did this was, on the way here, on the way to work this morning, I saw 3 dead does on the highway. On the way back, other side of the interstate, there was 2. One of them in the middle of the interstate against a concrete wall. And then 2 more on the interstate. Then I got through town and coming up 82, coming out of Tuscaloosa there. I see a doe run across the road. I see another 2 dead does. So that tells me them bucks are they're just aggravating them. You know, they're running them already. Now them big bucks, of course, they know what time it is. They done been there, done that. They're not out there just running these does to death yet. They use their nose. They're doing that pattern though, where they're checking and watching doe bedding areas, and they're finding out where all the does are, where they're all laid up, so you know they can check them. And so here they go. I get down in this woods, all the orange on, and here I go, just like out of that Batman movie. I take off, and oh, just one more safety tip. Now I seen there's only one way in here, and there was absolutely no tracks, even from this past weekend or nowhere else. No car tracks, no boot tracks, no nothing. Because I do not suggest this. But I take off breaking branches and grunting and walking and moving. I'm making sounds like a scrape. I go down to where I know this buck could hear me if he's bedded where I thought he was. And I act like I'm rubbing trees. I got 2 trees together. I just rubbed them, tried to make it sound like when I've heard deer rub trees. And then I go to tearing the antlers up. Well, not really tearing them up, just making like a young buck fight. Because they are getting more agitated. And these bigger bucks, especially the ones that are getting left alone, every now and then you can agitate one this time of year, because he's fired up too. And my thoughts were, nobody's ever been dumb enough to do this on public land when everybody's got a rifle. You know, who does that, you know? But anyway, I go down through there and I am tearing the woods up, and I'd go down, and while I'm doing this ain't just I snuck up behind a tree and rattled and rubbed a bush. This is I'm trying to run through the woods sounding like a deer. I'm hopping and skipping, and I'm grunting, and I'm rattling, and then I'd stop and I'd just sound like I was pushing. And if one of y'all was out there and had this on video, I'd have to come try to get it from you. I mean, complete orange idiot running through the woods. Probably had 3 or 4 deer looking at me saying, man, if I had YouTube, I'd put it on there. But anyway, it was fun. I had such a blast doing it. I probably completely wrecked that spot forever. I did it for all the way up and down this one ridge. It may be 500, 600 yards long. You know, I'd stop and I'd sneak for a while and I'd listen. And it took me 2.5 hours doing this. I got down to the spot where I was wanting to hunt. I found 3 brand new, beautiful scrapes. I mean, they're rut scrapes. The bedding area I'm hunting right here, some bucks use this. There's a big thicket back there, and I found a little bitty point that jumps off of it, and they use it for rut bedding. I never see them there any other time of year. I go in there, and I can see some of it with binoculars. I couldn't do that today, but typically you can kind of see when them bucks go in there, because they'll break some of them stuff down there, and then they'll lay down in there. And they lay right up against that thick stuff. I didn't make it quite that far, but there's 3 brand new scrapes. And I found a rub on a tree that's there every year. And typically that rub shows up about the time those deer start using that bed waiting for rut. It could be a spike, it could be a 10 point. You have no idea. The biggest buck that's in that area will always be on that one little point because he can smell that whole thicket and anybody coming. But y'all take a listen. This podcast is really awesome. I sound just like the guy on it right now because I did exactly what he said. He's got a lot more experience with it, and he's got a lot of great knowledge. I really enjoyed this podcast. So y'all check it out. Happy hunting.